All right, guys, so we got to talk about these new polls that came out on ICE. Now, let me just say up front, though, that as a general rule, the American people have a tendency to be very pro-law enforcement. If you don't believe me, go look at any poll you can find on, American support for the military, American support for the police. Basically, anybody with a badge and a gun is default assumed to be reasonable, is default assumed to be legitimate, okay? Now, the problem here is, when you're dealing with ICE, they are not at all legitimate. First of all, they were created in fucking 2003, okay? I am way, way older than ICE. All right, most of you are probably older than ICE. They also were created, it's a duplicative agency because you already had Customs and Border Patrol. And actually, there's even, government agencies that predate Customs and Border Patrol. So even they probably were totally unnecessary in, doing what needs to be done when it comes to immigration and when it comes to law enforcement. So it was created under the Bush administration. And now they're effectively Trump's paramilitary. It is his Gestapo. These people are not trained in any serious way. It used to be 5 or 6 months of training. Now it's down to 47 days. They picked 47 days because Trump is the 47th president. I wish I was kidding. I'm not kidding. They literally got rid of the sit-up requirement because all these fat asses couldn't fucking do the sit-ups. You got people with long rap sheets joining. You got people who, have done domestic violence. You have people from the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and the Three Percenters, all sorts of white nationalists. I mean, it's disturbing who these people are. Okay, they're not professionals. They're just not. It's just a fact to say that they're not. Well, guess what? Americans are sort of slow to pick up on stuff like that. Like I said, if you have a badge and a gun, they just assume you're a serious person. But guess what? There's been massive movement in the public's perception against ICE, given how sociopathic they've been acting. So take a look at this. Support for abolishing ICE. Support is at 42%, but you got to understand that it surged 17 points since the last poll that they did. 17 points. And the last poll was done a year ago, January 8th, 2025. So since then, nearly 20 points more in the country has said, no, we can't do this. We got to abolish ICE. Opposing abolishing it is 50%. I do think in the near future, we will hit a tipping point where a majority of Americans will want to abolish ICE. So look, not the best number in the world because it should already be a majority that wants to abolish it. Fucking duh, right? But having said that, we're already at the point where like 90% of Democratic voters are like, you got to get rid of this fucking, you just got to get rid of this agency. It's a joke. They're clowns. They're fucking fascists. It's ridiculous. All right, more. Here we go. Approval of ICE has gone from plus 16 to minus 13 since last February. It went from plus 16 to minus 13, so now it's way underwater. In September 2024, 19% supported abolishing ICE. Now it's at 42%. So Axios has this piece. President Trump's immigration crackdown is a cornerstone of his agenda, but ICE and Homeland Security tactics have repeatedly sparked protests and legal challenges. The agency's net approval fell 30 percentage points in a year. A YouGov poll of over 2,600 U.S. adults on January 7th found people don't like the way ICE operates. About 52% either somewhat or strongly disapproved of how ICE was handling its job, compared to 39% who somewhat or strongly approved. Just 27% said the agency's tactics were about right, compared to 51% who called them too forceful, and another 10% said they were not forceful enough. Jesus Christ, that's just the 10% of this country is just Adolf Hitler. All right, let's continue. A 44% plurality of adults approved of recent ICE protests, while 42% disapproved. ICE had a plus 16 net approval rating last February at the start of Trump's second term, according to YouGov. So it's interesting. A plurality approved of the ICE protests. You need to understand something, guys. Americans also have this sort of default hatred for any sort of protest. It's actually one of the most depressing things about this country is they're very like default anti-protest. But the fact that right out of the gate here, it's already a plurality of Americans that support protesting ICE, that's incredible. They say, of note, meanwhile, support for abolishing ICE has surged. In September 2024, just 19% support abolishing the agency, according to survey data from research firm Civics, while 66% opposed. This month, 42% support abolishing the agency and 49.5% oppose. Abolishing ICE has become a consensus view among Democrats, per the Civics data, with 69% of Democrats now supporting the idea. The Department of Homeland Security, which houses ICE, consistently ranks amongst Americans' least favorite federal agencies, according to Pew Research Center's 2025 annual popularity poll. Republicans view DHS more positively in 2025 than in 2024. President Biden's the last year in office. No shit. Unsurprisingly, DHS's favorability levels completely flipped for Democrats. So here's the thing, and we need to make this as clear as possible. If you're a Democrat and you're running for president in 2028, or you're just running for office in general, there's no wiggle room. You need to say that what's happening in Gaza is a genocide, and you need to say that ICE has to be abolished. It's that simple. It's that simple. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. But what we need to do is we need to maybe reform it, and what we need to do is come up with better rules and better training, and then maybe that'll be the way that we can actually... No, shut the fuck up. www.shutit.org, okay? Not happening. You need to say abolish it. We need moral clarity is what we need. And anything short of that, and the base is not going to fucking have it. The left-wing Tea Party is here. We are ascendant, and we're taking no fucking prisoners. So we're already at a point where this is an historic low for, a law enforcement agency and Americans' perceptions towards it. But guess what? It's only going to get worse for them, because they're only going to keep acting like the Gestapo, and we're going to keep shining a spotlight on it, and we're going to keep demanding accountability and justice and the whole fucking agency to be wiped off the map.
Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.